Hello there, my loves, and welcome once more to my Friday episode where we will be reviewing yet another vintage science fiction. It's Midsummer Century by James Blish. Let's get the devil up here, the cover. This is a scan of my edition. So this continues my mish to read some Blish that doesn't taste like pish. What do you think of that pun? I know it's pretty terrible. Let me know if you've got a better one. That's all I could come up with. But yes, of course, I haven't had much luck in the past reading dear old Blish. I don't know why. So this is the fourth one I've attempted. Will this one be any better? Who knows? Who knows? Now, where am I going wrong? Is it the vintage of the Blish that I'm selecting? I don't know. I've read a scattering of earlier ones, I think. This one here was first published in 71, I think, or 72, although it wouldn't come over to the UK until 73. This is an Arrow publication from 75. I read this one because of my mission to read something a bit better from Blish. Also, the cover looks delicious. It's also very thin, and I thought it could up my numbers for the year. It still took me almost a week to read the devil, though. Let's look at the cover. So, yeah, fantastic cover. We have this great big turgid technological marvel protruding from the foreground there, surrounded by various birds. Now, if that doesn't make you want to read it, I don't know what does. The blurb was also quite interesting, I must say. We'll get to the premise of the story a little later. Is this by Foss? I doubt it, of course. If it's not Foss, it's a dosser. DOS? If it's not Foss, it's DOS. That doesn't work either, sorry. But anyway, needless to say, this technological marvel does not appear in the story even once. No, it's nothing to do with it. I think the artist who was commissioned just thought, right, I'm not reading this, despite the fact there's bugger all there to read. I'm just going to do whatever I want and then sprinkle some birds into the mix, because birds do feature prominently, my labs. The other thing of note, the reason why I don't think the artist read the book at all, is that there's various planets in the background there. There's even one on the back for good measure. This is set on Earth. So it's completely bonkers. Green sky and a kind of crimson horizon there. That might be the only thing that does bear some resemblance to the story itself. Anyway, what's this one all about, my lads? Well, this is one of those stories where you think to yourself, how the hell was this ever thought of, let alone written? So we're dealing with a young astrophysicist by the name of John Martells. He's an astrophysicist. He's got a new placement over in America, I believe. He's a British chap, but he's come from a low standing. So over here in the UK, we have a class system. It's become less noticeable in current times, perhaps, but it's still there. It's always going to be there. And he's talking about the fact that over in America, they don't have that distinction of class. You get to where you are by your own merit, potentially. Over here, of course, you're stuck with where you're born, largely. I personally was brought up in a working class situation. My family was working class. Their generations before them were working class. You're kind of stuck where you are. Of course, you can climb the ladder slightly up to the middle class arena, which, I mean, what's the difference between those two things, you ask? I suppose it's to do with vocation, the kind of job you do. Working class, typically manual labour or low skilled, potentially. Well, no, it's not really skilled, but middle class, you're talking about teachers and policemen, perhaps, I don't know. But that's where the distinction wobbles a bit. So if it's all about the job you're doing, is it intelligence? Are you saying the working class people are of a low mind? I mean, there's various things that come into play. Class, I won't get into it now, but it's the way you're portrayed, or the way you portray yourself to your fellow man or woman, my loves. I still consider myself working class, of course, because that's my heritage. I do jobs. I've always done jobs that are low skilled, so that's where I am. But perhaps I talk in a way that suggests I'm not of that background. That's where it's all crazy, isn't it? But I'm proud to be working class, and there we are. Stick that up your tit. Right, I used to have a really big chip on my shoulder about the class system, but there we are. Anyway, I don't know why that is crowbarred into here, other than the fact that this John Martell's has a hard time over in Britain being judged on his background, shall we say. So he comes over to America, and he gets a wonderful job at a new radio telescope. Now, what is the first thing he does? Climbs up the devil and falls down the middle of it through the centre of this radio telescope. Now, that could be a very short story. Climbs up, falls down, dead. However, what happens is that he falls down, and by some weird quirk of the machinery, gets blasted into the future 23,000 years. I should say not his body, his mentality. So his brain, or his psyche, whatever you want to call it, gets blasted into the future into, now this is where it gets completely bonkers, into the brain case of some kind of entity, formerly human but now existing as a brain in a bottle, shall we say. A super intelligence, really. Almost tiptoeing towards artificial intelligence, but yeah, based on biology, but based on a brain, my loves. So there we are. He's trapped in this brain with this entity that's called the Quant. Qvant, my loves. Not to be confused, of course, with cunt. Now, I was going to get a nice clip from Chris Lilly, who's an Australian comedian. He does various television programs. Summer Heights High, I think that's one. Is that what it's called? I can't remember what it's called now. But anyway, it's all set in a high school over in Australia. It's very near the knuckle. He gets away with things that he probably can't get away with it anymore. The things he does.
One thing that I like to do from time to time is I just perform for the kids for a whole lesson, just to give them a sort of benchmark of how things are done, so they can see someone at a professional industry level handles the performance side of things. And that, in a way, gives them confidence.
But one of his characters is a estate agent turned DJ, and his DJ, he's called Quentin, and he comes up with this idea of having a name called DJ Quant. It's just ridiculous. Too many options on Saturday. So there's a nice clip where he says it's not DJ Cunt, it's DJ Quant, but I couldn't find the clip, and I thought, let's just talk about it instead. Anyway, fuck that. Anyway, that's that. So this super intelligence, he's stuck in this brain case with him in what appears to be formerly a temple of some kind. There's debris strewn around the floor. It appears to be like an old stone temple, but it's surrounded by forest. And so once in a while you get a native walking into this space and asking the great DJ Quant some advice about what to do. So it's become the brains of the future, and humanity has largely regressed into a more tribal form. So yeah, very odd indeed. Now, I don't know how much to explore this. Let's talk a little bit more. So it's about John Martell's trying to escape this brain case, and getting out into the wider world to try and find a way of blasting his consciousness back to the future. The only other thing of note here later on is the fact that whilst humanity has been brought rather lower in the millennia that have passed since he was blasted into the future, birds have become the dominant life form on Earth, the most intelligent, shall we say, and they are planning to wipe out humanity. one would assume by pecking the devil out of them. It never really explains how they're going to go about this, but they've become very clever, these birds. And at the same time, humanity has embraced more of a psychic or telepathic union with ancestors, for example. So it's all gone a bit mumbo jumbo in the future. There we are. That's probably all I'll say about that. But there we are. It's pretty bonkers. Yeah, I won't say any more about how he gets out of this predicament, or whether he goes back to his former time to start working on his telescope again. I won't spoil that for you, my loves. You'll have to work it out yourself. You'll have to read it yourself. But what it seems to be, I mean, at the very beginning, there's a note here. I'll read it very quickly. I am indebted to Roland Bowden and Dr. John Clark, both of England, for substantial elements of my hypotheses about the nature of ESP and mystical experience, respectively. In both instances, I have simply helped myself to whatever seemed useful in advancing my own notions and my story without trying to be rigorous about it. I am grateful to both for permission to simplify their work into fiction. He might have simplified these ideas, but they're still bonkers, and I couldn't really get my head around them. So for me, it seems as though he's had this nice chat with... That's my fucking book. Excuse me. It's always the same. When I do a review on here, there's always a delivery. Now, I'm going to obscure my address, but here we are. There's 3 books that I've ordered from eBay. Clifford Simak ones. There we are. Yes, where was I? Yeah, so I think he's got into this kind of intellectual conversation with 2 chaps over in England about ESP, telepathy, slight mysticism, really, about where the nature of consciousness, or where it goes after you die, those kind of things. So he's got these interesting ideas, and then he's using this story to explore them somewhat. But the story is limited by these theories, and the theories aren't fully explored within that structure, or not satisfactorily, shall we say. So yes, I think it's probably flawed from the outset. I enjoyed it once it escaped the confines of this temple, and some of the ideas that were explored were interesting. But of course, if we go back to the 70s, it was very telepathy and ESP, extrasensory perception, things like that. Those ideas were very seriously explored by scientists at the time. I don't know if they still do. Perhaps they do. If you follow conspiracy theories, they've been exploring it ever since, and they can do things, my loves. But who knows? But anyway, back then it was a serious consideration, and it worked its way into lots of science fiction at the time. But yeah, I don't know. So let's get the devil down and give it a damn good thrashing. Right, so this is my 4th Blish. What will it get, I wonder? Out of 5, let's see. Yeah, it's 2 stars. Bastard. Excuse me. Now, apologies to any James Blish fans out there. If you've previously read any of these, if indeed you've actually read Midsummer Century and you enjoyed it, and I'm missing a trick, please do let me know where I'm going wrong. But if there's anything out there that's really good by him, I mean, I haven't really researched it. I'm just trying to read through the books of his that I've got. I've still got some other ones knocking around, which I will read soon to continue my mission. But if there's any glaring examples of his amazing talents, amazing imaginations, and story writing ability, please do let me know, and I will crack one out eventually, because at the moment I'm feeling sorry for poor James Blish, because I'm readily destroying his work here. Well, there we are. This is what I do. I don't really know what I'm doing half the time. Anyway, let's leave it there. It's another one of those fly by the seat of your pants reviews. I was going to do a little joke about the film Midsummer at the beginning. I completely forgot to do that. But anyway, let's do it now. It's not Midsummer. It's Midsummer Century. Now, the title, just crowbar this in now, it references the fact that it is in the future. I mean, 20,000 years into the future, it appears that the climate has altered drastically. We're in a kind of, it's a worldwide tropical climate. So a world-spanning jungle, I think. Anyway, let's leave it there. Thanks for watching if you have, and I'll see you next time, my loves. Cheerio. Bastard motorcycle. Fuck off.